I just did a test flight with those new ND filters here from Freewell for the DJI Mavic 4 Pro, and just about 10 hours later the Thai government announced that there's now a drone ban nationwide in effect until the 15th of August because of the ongoing tensions with Cambodia. So I can't really show you more footage than what I've already captured with those filters, which isn't a lot to be honest, but the shots look great. And that's why I thought I'd just make this video here where I at first address the situation here in Thailand, both for drone pilots, but also if you want to travel here, and also talk a bit more about those ND filters and what I think of them. So let's get into it. So let's start with the elephant in the room. What's going on here in Thailand right now? As you probably saw already in the news, Cambodia attacked Thailand a couple of days ago, I think about a week. So there are of course a few things that happened because of that, and one is the drone ban, which just got into effect yesterday. I think it was late afternoon or evening. So if you're currently in Thailand or you plan to travel here, you can't fly your drone at all. Doesn't matter where you go in Thailand until at least the 15th of August. They will decide then if they extend that or not. I really hope not. But of course, security first. We don't want that any military drones are being used here in Thailand that potentially cause or take our lives. So yeah, it's the right decision, even if I don't like it. And when it comes to the conflict between Cambodia and Thailand, I think you've already read a lot about that in the news. But generally, I would say if you want to build an opinion about what's going on here, ask ChatGPT or other AIs or so to give you a summary of both the viewpoints from the Thai side and the Cambodian side, and also the historical facts and geographical facts that speak for and against the views of both sides, to build your own opinion. Maybe even also research the ICJ ruling and what the critics of this ruling say against it, so that you can build your own opinion. Because I could now spend 30 minutes here and give you my point of view, but no matter what I say here, you will perceive that as biased anyway, because I live in Thailand for 6 years, I'm married to a Thai, I absolutely love this country, it's a favorite country for me in the world to live in, and I absolutely love the people here. So of course you will perceive that as biased. That's why I think just get all the information, get all the facts straight and build your own opinion about it. Aside from that, I can only say wars never happen between the citizens or everyday people like you and me of two countries. It's always between two governments, and that's why, like, if you're watching from the Thai side right now and you met a Cambodian person working here in Thailand or so, then be kind to them, because eventually they will come to the conclusion that you are, and Thailand in general, is not their enemy, and maybe that their enemies sit in their own government and stuff. But that's all that I say here. Aside from that, when it comes to traveling to Thailand, from my experience, like I live in Hua Hin, it's safe here, like you can perfectly travel Thailand, you wouldn't need to worry about anything, but of course stay away from the border provinces to Cambodia. You can also not cross them right now, the borders are closed, and I think that will stay like that for a very long time. But I also have to say that those areas are usually not that interesting for tourists anyway, except for the area around Kukut. But as far as I know there, it's safe to go there, like on Kukut itself, hasn't been any fightings. I think on the like mainland close to Kukut or so there was something, but it should be safe there. However, I would personally not go there right now, because you never know what happens in the future. Maybe there's a new attack or so and suddenly the island is affected and then you're sitting there or you're dead, I don't know. So I would personally not go there right now, but if you absolutely want to go, you will most likely be safe. So overall the situation here is not too bad. You don't have to change your travel plans or so. Definitely come to Thailand and enjoy your time here. So I would say let's all hope that it stays peaceful, because there is a ceasefire right now, luckily, and that hopefully all the issues there get resolved and there's no fighting again anymore. Fingers crossed. Anyway, let's talk about something more positive, which is the Freewell ND filters for the DJI Mavic 4 Pro, which I have quite a few of here, and during my research I found that they are probably a bit more important than I thought in the beginning, because it was really hard to find anything about the native DJI ND filters for the Mavic 4 Pro. For me, like here in Thailand at least, there only seems to be one shop that sells them on Shopee, and internationally I researched, for example, on Amazon Germany, and there I couldn't find them at all. And in the US I think it's generally a problem to get this drone right now. But the Freewell ND filters seemed like to be available everywhere, even B&H and stuff. So they are definitely easier to get, and they come in all sorts of variations. Like for example, here I have the BRG filters. I don't even know why they are called BRG, but they are essentially polarizer filters mixed with ND filters, which is great. We'll not like get deep into polarizing filters right now because there are so many videos here on YouTube about polarizing filters for cameras and drones. But what essentially they do when you have them on your drone is they can make your skies more colorful. They can cut through water so you can actually look into the water, which might be less important for drones, but it also makes the water a bit more colorful, which looks oftentimes better than just having those reflecting surface there. It just doesn't look that good. It can also make trees a bit greener as they usually are, so that's why I generally prefer an DPL filter over classic ND filter. And what's special about those filters is what I can show you a bit better in that normal ND filter set here without ND filter. That is that you have different lenses available on the DJI Mavic 4 Pro, like 2 tele lenses and 1 wide angle lens. And the tele lenses are a bit darker than the wide angle lens because they use an f2.8 aperture, I think it is, and the wide angle lens uses f2 as far as I remember. And those Freewell ND filters compensate for that. So the 2 ND filters here on top of that, they are a bit brighter than the ND filter at the bottom. It's a little bit darker than the top ones. So it automatically compensates for the exposure differences between the lenses, and that makes it a lot easier to keep your shutter speed consistent between all 3 lenses. And that makes it a bit special because I remember on previous drones that I had when I got ND filters for it, there was the same ND always for all lenses, and that wasn't really good because then you still have to change either shutter speed or the ISO between lenses. And again, like those are now the standard ND filters. Here they are a bit cheaper than the ND CPL ones, so if the polarizing effect is not important for you, then you can save a bit of money with them, but still get the effect that the exposure is compensated for between lenses. That's great, but if you can afford it, I would definitely recommend you to get the CPL combo here, because then you also have the polarizing effect. And if you want to save even more money, they also sell those filters separately. In that case, I, in your case, would likely go just for either the ND8 or the ND16, because on the wide angle lens you can still control the aperture, so you don't actually need that much ND, and it's oftentimes enough already for the tele lenses, because when you zoomed in with the tele lenses, the image is usually not super bright because oftentimes you don't point directly into the sun, so the part that you film of the scene is usually a bit darker as what you need with the wide angle lens. So I personally, for example, in the shots that you see here right now, I only used the ND8/ND4PL filter and it was perfectly fine. I did see that some of the shots straight out of camera are definitely overexposed, but no highlights were clipped, which is important. So you can just bring the exposure down in post and it all looks great because no detail is lost. That's why I also thought for me, hey, maybe you actually don't need more than the ND8, but to be a bit safer, it might be worth it getting the ND16/ND8, so ND16 for the wide angle lens and ND8 for the tele lenses, this version, because then you're a bit safer in case you have really bright situations and maybe you also want to film a bit in the sun. So this is probably the cheapest option that you can go for. And aside from that, they also sell a few more filters. You have the ND1000 here, for example. This is a very special ND filter because this makes a shot so dark that essentially you don't really shoot video with that anymore. You would use it for photography to get a blurry background while the drone moves, while the subject, when you track it, stays in focus. Now I have to say, those shots are super hard. I did it a few years ago with I think it was the DJI Air 2 or so, or Air 2S, with a friend on a motorbike. It was super hard to get a shot that looks good because you really have to fly at the exact same speed as the subject so that it stays sharp, and then you get this nice blurry background effect. So it's definitely cool to play around with an ND1000 for photography, but it's definitely one of those filters that is far less important than all the other ND or CPL filters here. And what they also have here is a mist filter. So this filter here does not apply any ND at all. You have to raise your shutter speed either or on the wide angle lens the aperture to get the right exposure, which is definitely a downer, but therefore it gets this nice mist effect. Now, because I cannot fly right now, I did not test this filter actually, so I can't really tell you how it is, but I'm sure there are some videos out there that show you that. However, what I have to say, I wish we had an option where we have ND plus CPL and mist all together, because that's how I usually shoot with all my normal cameras. I like the mist effect, just makes the highlights all a bit smoother and stuff, and takes a bit the digital sharpness out. That's why I use those filters pretty much all the time. But yeah, without ND, you just sometimes have to raise your shutter speeds, and then you're not getting the motion blur anymore. What, to be fair, I also have to say, like when you're far up with the drone, it doesn't matter that much, because even if you use high shutter speeds, when you're far away from objects, you don't really see much motion blur anyways, so you will likely be fine by using this filter. But whenever you fly a bit closer to objects, like trees for example or so, then you want to have that motion blur effect in there, and for that you generally need ND filters. And I found that with the wide angle lens on the Mavic 4 Pro, if you're shooting in bright daylight, then even completely raising the aperture to, I think it was f11, was not enough to make it dark enough so that I could set the shutter speed to twice the frame rate, at least when I shoot in 24 frames per second. So that's also one reason why I generally think that it's better to use ND filters with this drone, and why I would also love to have a mist filter combined with ND filter. So Freewell, it would be awesome to have that. And of course, for the situations where you don't need any ND at all, you can also just buy a CPL filter separately. So there you only get the polarizing effect without any ND. It's, for example, good if you shoot like at golden hour and stuff, then you don't always need ND. So what do I think about those filters? As mentioned before, I only had one test flight where I only tested one filter, the ND48/CPL. When I look at the footage, it looks all good to me. Like the footage is sharp and the colors are also good. Like it color grades well. I didn't notice any significant color shifts. So from that perspective, when it comes to video quality, I'm happy with it. The only little quirk that I noticed was that when I used that filter here, that was the ND8/4PL, like at first it is easy to like mount it on the drone. You just like screw that filter off here, the native one, and then you just put the Freewell one on there, make sure it goes inside, and you have to squeeze it a bit. Okay, there, so it's easy to attach, but you see here it's not like perfectly flush around the edges. Like I definitely feel a hard edge here. So I think when it comes to build quality, they could have nailed the measurements a little bit more, but it's not an actual issue. Like I flew with it and I didn't notice any problems. It's probably just my German brain. Like when I feel a hard edge like that, it goes wild. So yeah, if you're looking for ND filters for your Mavic 4 Pro, definitely have a look at them. And again, if you have the money, then definitely invest into the circular polarizing ND filters here in the Will set, because then you're covered fully and you can get nice contrasty skies and stuff like that. I personally like that. But I also have to say, you can do a lot of great stuff with this drone, even without ND filters. If you want to see how it looks completely without ND, check out this video here in the corner, because there was no ND filter available in the beginning when I shot that. I think the shots still look great. So I hope to see you in this video. And by the way, you find the links to all of those filters in the description below. And if you want to travel Thailand, definitely do it. Have a great holiday, but check the drone regulations before so that you stay up to date, because it's not 100% safe that you can fly again after the 15th of August.